Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the 10 Degree Shift and the Manager to Leader Shift. Here, we're all about helping leaders and individuals lead themselves, become healthy, amazing humans so that they can go on and lead their teams and then lead their organizations and their cultures to great success so that they can continue to thrive. Each month, we love to do a spotlight on a leader who's doing some amazing things in the world, someone who really is living this story and this journey. And I couldn't do this podcast without inviting this lovely gentleman, Marlon De Cruz. Marlon, welcome.
Thank you, AJ. Thanks for having me. And we've known each other for a long time, so I think this is our few sessions we've done now. Really good to have be here again and talk about things.
Great. So Marlon and I, as he said, have known each other for a little while and our paths have weaved and come in and out. I would say Marlon's a little bit of an angel to a lot of business people, an angel in disguise, maybe. He is someone who definitely has gone through the process, we would say, of going from leader to servant leader and is now what I would call beginning his journey into steward eldership. Marlon is someone who comes from Sri Lanka, has moved here to Australia, has built several companies and is now the co-founder and chairman of BizTech Global. And BizTech Global services in lots of ways. I'll let Marlon explain how they help their clients, and they work across 14 countries and have clients around the world. We're really privileged to have Marlon here today, and I'm privileged to continue to work with him on our Thrive Stars initiative and some of the things that we're looking to do to help make organizations and people and humans thrive. So Marlon, tell us a little bit about your backstory and how you came to be where you are today. But obviously you weren't born as a businessman. Where did it all begin?
Thank you, AJ. And I think that was a beautiful intro. Where do we start? So I grew up in Sri Lanka. My dad worked in one of the companies there that all his life. So first glimpse of actually a British American tobacco. Fortunately, unfortunately, we had the companies that selling alcohol and tobacco too. So, but anyway, the company that they looked after, their individuals and employees really, really well. So he started his first job there and he retired there. So one of the first glimpses of leadership and organization run well was that maybe, and then we lived all over the country because he worked in the field, so I had a good lot of upbringing in the rural areas. I was always not very aligned with all the other friends who were like had cars and this and that. So I was like always sitting and thinking, how does things work? I was used to unpacking things or reverse engineering things in a way that I wanted to understand. So even now I'm abnormally curious human being that needs to sort of not to obsess about it, but to get into my mind or my being how things work. So started there. Then in 96, I think I moved to Australia. My sister was gonna move here. She was getting married, and I thought, if part of the family moves over here, then maybe everyone has to follow. Didn't work like that. My mom and dad still lives in Sri Lanka, and one of my siblings, my brother Johan, who's the CEO of BizTech Global, so we work really well together. Anyway, going back to that Sri Lanka, I also had an uncle who was very close, who was very successful in what he did. And when I was very little, I witnessed his journey, and I really observed how he went about. His name is Uncle George. He's not living anymore. So he built this massive empire with, I don't know, people say, self-made billionaire, millionaire. I don't think that is correct because no one can be self-made because you need people to help you to do that. So,
Yeah.
so I normally say that he's So he had a team of really good humans, and what I understood that is that the people that he looked after, AJ, especially uh, basically they would give anything for him, and he really understood how to, curate things and bring some people together. So everyone said he had the Midas touch. But I realize it's the way that he thought and the way that he made people feel. So
Mm.
these two main experiences gave me like a real powerful way of thinking on how about to go about doing what people do, and you can get better outcomes or different outcomes. So as you mentioned, like yeah, I don't know, AJ, you said that like angels. I think that that uncle that I had, he was like that. So I really witnessed that, and a few other things that I was very grew up in a spiritual family, so I went to church and stuff like that. That also gives you and also Sri Lanka being a very religiously like Buddhist country. Lived in the part of my life in a place called Anuradhapura, where the Buddhism actually, origin in Sri Lanka. So where the Bodhi tree, that sapling from Lord Buddha, actually, if you ever go to Sri Lanka, you have to go and see this one, Sri Bodhi, and this it's called the Holy City. So anyway, it's really good. And if you want to get a bit more tips on that, because I worked in tourism before I left Sri Lanka, so that's one of the things I get the right itinerary for you. Yeah. So
One.
yeah, so that's my background from where I came from, and I was always interested in technology. So yeah,
And so we'll pull on the technology thread and what you're doing now, but I want to
yeah,
dive into what you just said and not just let that go. I think one of the reasons we first came to know each other was because of a podcast I was a guest on, where I talked about actually traveling to another country, India, and where
yeah,
I had some profound experiences, unexpected. I didn't go seeking something in particular, but had some profound experiences that truly altered the trajectory of my life and some of my beliefs of what's possible. And I love hearing about the leaders that inspired you in your family. And that's very much what I talk about with steward eldership. It
yeah,
also inspired for me my path and journey of learning more about my own Indigenous culture here in Australia, and sitting with elders and following the journey of learning how they pass on knowledge and how they create healthy, thriving tribes. And that's not dissimilar, I think, in lots of ways to the spiritual path that you're talking about, where we take only what we need, not what we greed. We take care of the whole, and that everyone's part of the community. So can we just dive in a little deeper into how that shaped your leadership before we move on to the technology and what you're doing now?
absolutely. Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's funny that when you're saying that, I have this, image, and I always have, a big A3 art book, and I draw and scribble things. And right now, a few images I'm actually creating. But going back to that question itself, I guess, I answer it in this way. So we all, I think, go to school, we go to, learn from our parents and things like that. And from the time I think, born, we learn things that, the society, the education system, everything sort of gives us. Now that is just we learning things into our mind. Our mind is got information, a collection of information, I think, and then this information gives us ways to process that whatever information we're getting right now in front of us. So that's like a form of five senses. So but when we're born, we already have an innate set of instructions, and body DNA, how it looks like, how we walk, how we talk, our skin color, everything like that is already existing, or I don't want to call it pre-programmed, but it is pre-programmed in our, in our being. in our body, right, physically, and how we go about it. So this is something that we unlearn as we go forward. So as we move forward in our journey, we unlearn the basics that we had, and we obtain, we collect all these things, and then that's how we. So, for example, if you don't like a certain situation, you will be anxious about it. You learn to how to get stressed out, and how to handle it. And but when you take yourself, when you're like, yeah, let's say you're 4 years old or 5 years old, you found someone in a playground, someone said, I don't like you, they go, I don't like you, and you walk away. You don't have any stress, you don't think about it in a way. So I think what we have there, I think what we have to realize is to amplify that and to really understand what that means, what that how we can use. So for me, that leadership part is being naturally comfortable in how I do things, how I work with people, and how I make other people feel. So that is like the basics of how we should be treading this planet, regardless of a leader or not. So for me, that early on, AJ, I don't know, I was very attentive to certain things, and I realized how things, like if someone made me feel really good, I realized what that was and how that was, and I learned from it. So, and if someone made me feel bad or someone didn't, felt used, I learned that too. Like I learned not to do that. So in all the businesses we've had, what we've done at the beginning of the business venture was sit down together and write down all the bad experiences. Yeah. Let's say I had few managers who were really bad, people who treated other people badly. I wrote all them down with other business partners or people who, and I documented them into a common set of rules. And then, so I call them what not to do's. Yeah. Not what the
Yep.
business is going to be about, and so those what not to do's, AJ, basically helps you define, and also you can use them as a benchmark test. So you go like every quarter, let's say you have a board meeting or a catch up with your executives or your leadership team, you go, okay, guys, we have, or girls, we have the 10 rules here. So there was one that was maybe, I think we broke this one, why is that? So, and you have to keep adding to it too, like, because when you do business, you'll have like, I don't know, someone who's being not very good to your team, you may go, oh, we don't have that in there, because if someone's doing that to us, are we doing that to other people? So for me, that leadership component is constructed by the basics of how we should treat each other, and the basic of being, let's call it angel to other people and other businesses to help them grow and help them. And then like the elements, right? So for example, without going too deep into that, the sun, is the one that gives us life and energy. So if a business can be like the sun, to give light, to give warmth, and to give the energy and the growth, then you basically being like nature, you know what I mean? And if you can be like nature, it's the closest to a success story of anything, It'll give you money, it'll give you time, it'll give you peace, it'll give you love, it'll give you so we don't call our team humans or assets or heads, we call them hearts. So we have a heart count, everything to do with the organization's meetings and stuff like that is to do with like our Hearts update, or we got Hearts Academy, we got Hearts Club. Everything is based on the heart word heart and the image to remind people on why that is. So it's basically I would say brought it into as a common ingrained concept. So everyone's like pretty much can't get away from it even. So that's like a long answer.
Oh, I love it though. There's so much to unpack in there, and no wonder I you know, love you as a dear human and a fellow leader walking this path. I think in the beginning, the part about unlearning is so true, and that in a lot of the leadership programs I do in organizations, so much of it, I say to them, leadership's not taught. Like, this is not about just learning tactics. It's the fact that we're natural born leaders, but we've forgotten that. And so I think leadership is revealed, and that it's a calling, and that we feel this drawing to want to do more or be more. And that's when we come into that space of the calling.
Yeah. And I think just to add to that, AJ, like a leader needs to inspire, and people need to naturally be able to follow that, you know. So I think if you have to dictate, if you have to use your authority to make things happen, then either you're operating in the wrong environment, or you set it up incorrectly, or it's too big to like it's too big for one person to control, or manage, you know what I mean? So you have to have that flow on effect of, the other team members, other hearts that you have, follow the same, thing. And yeah, so very strangely to me, when I started, like, especially the BizTech Global Services, when you had that workshop, AJ, at the beginning, I almost, like, I don't know, fell off the chair, because everyone in the team said the same thing in different words, and I had goosies on my hands, because it was like, wow, if you can bring I don't know, 4, 5, 6 people who are born in different families, lived in different places, and they all have the same ethos and the same passion and the same I don't know, vision to create, and the purpose, you can't get better alignment. So, obviously you can't get that all the time, but, you can work on, attracting and bringing people together that's like that, So I have a group called the Amazing Hearts. I have you, Michelle, and few of them in this, the Thrive Stars. We have a great bunch, So I think, yeah, you had to work on, hosting and facilitating that to the level if you want to build something great, I think that's my belief.
And that's why you continue to be successful. I truly believe that the most sustainable, successful organizations are not just those that focus on productivity and bottom line, but they know how to bring their people along on the journey and to engage those hearts. And I love that you said about writing down the bad experiences and that they're the what not to do's. And it really sticks in my memory reading about Dee Hock, who was the founder of Visa Global. So created credit cards basically for the world. And Dee always said, I can give you a 60-second PhD in leadership. And he said, think of all the bad things any leaders who really upset you ever did, write it down and never do that. And then he said, and now write down all the things you loved about the leaders who you've worked for, do that. And he's like, that's it. It's as simple. And it's exactly what you're living and breathing, right?
Yeah. And I think that for me, that Dee Hock, I think is definitely, I didn't, I sort of most probably have heard of it, but I didn't know that was one of the things. But anyway, I think if you write down and, uphold the things not to do, definitely you don't have to write the things to do, because then everything else you do is good. You know what I mean? So,
yes.
But you have to keep, I guess, measuring that and evolving that to make sure that it's current, because as we go forward, in time, because time is the most, like the precious thing we have. So we should not waste a moment in, even trying to learn. So if we have the learnings from all those people we have, and continuous so improvement or continuous learning is the way to go. So anyway, I have 3 mantras. I'll share that with you as we go forward. And that's like my personal ones that I try and live by. So definitely. So thank you for sharing that.
It's interesting also that you have a heart count, not a head count. And for all of those who are listening who are going, yeah, but where's the business metrics and how do you make a business work? Like if you're all just walking around saying, let's be like the sun, right? So I'm just saying, Marlon, there'll be some skeptics listening or going, you can't just build a business on being like the sun. I think there's such great alignment in what you're talking about in having a heart count and thinking about hearts. And what I know from studying heart coherence myself is even in a human and an individual, when our heart is in coherence, we have more energy. We're able to think clearer. We're able to do more. We're really better, much better at making decisions clearly.
Yeah.
So, and behind you, we can see for those who are looking at the visual, behind him, Marlon's got that his organization has won some of those Great Place to Work awards and been certified as Asia's best workplaces. So it just tells you that this isn't just froth and bubble. It's not just PRing what we do. It's actually going, this is because it's the way things should be, and it actually has long-term sustainable viability. Can you tell us a bit about how the heart count has shaped the success? Because you're in kind of IT, which people would think, oh, they're not going to do all this sort of stuff. So tell us more about how it works on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you, AJ. And I think, yeah, so first of all, I'll do is, yeah, for people who feel skeptical about that and maybe explain a little bit more and then, go into that, the second part of the question. So the first thing is that, yeah, definitely, it's typically a marketing hype, we have the best place to work is, can be taken as, so I have had few leaders, experts who come and helped us even do reviews of certain things. And they're going, you really got this, working, like not working, you got it from, get-go set up correctly. So I don't see it as set up because it's not a setup. It's actually a belief and a way, you know what I mean? So if you can make every decision from your heart, okay, and have the influence of the heart in the decisions you make in your head, then what happens is that the purpose of, like, what we do, right? So if the purpose is just to make money, you don't have to run a business. You could just go to trade in the stock market. You spend 5-6 years, get a good trader and put some money, and I'm telling you, you will be successful if you don't do any silly trades yourself, because people trained how to do it will actually make you money. But if you want to run a business, is not to make money, it's to actually create an ecosystem or a sustainable, platform, or whatever you want to word the word, is to, so for me, it's about the ecosystem that, will eventually, the connected hearts will be in the millions. So we call it connected hearts because the concept of the heart came for me from, let's say if AJ, you and me have, let's say each individual has between 30 to 50 maybe hearts that's directly connected to them, that is concerned about the well-being, is happy if they're happy, you know what I mean? So if we have, let's say 100, then it's 100 into 50, right? You know what I mean? So like it very quickly becomes thousands. So we most probably currently have, like, 20,000 hearts that directly close to connected, and then maybe a couple of 100,000 hearts that are connected to the businesses we support, right? So I think about all those hearts.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, the impact that I'm trying to make here, not is to make money and give it away, is to actually help those hearts as they live every day. So that, if you can measure that, and if you can use that as your energy and your source of power, as your fuel, then everything becomes easy. Everything becomes, because you don't have a problem that you can't deal with, because you use your heart, go, okay, so let's say there's a creditor and they're struggling to pay your bills. You need to think about their families and their things and their customers, and work a way to, you don't go, okay, I'm not going to service you and I'm going to cut you off, and these things happen every day, right? So if you treat them like another heart, I'm telling you, the outcome is going to be very different. And
Mm-hmm.
you're going to feel good about it in the night when you're going to bed. You're not going to go, okay, this guy didn't pay, I'm going to shut it down, and that he's going to shut his customer down. And so
Yeah.
some people will do silly things, some people will not be aligned with, what you do. So if a customer is, and this is why, so we call them the golden rules or the 10 commandments,
Yeah.
not be a religious thing, but it's 10 rules at the moment. So in there, like, let's say we have one says, do not hire and fire. Okay, so what that means is, do not hire people without knowing that they may be the best candidate. Maybe, so my theory there is that if I hire someone, I want them to retire with me.
Yeah.
So if that's the agenda that you share with your team, and they go about finding people that who are really aligned, and then but then people will move overseas, or people may not do their thing, and we may need to part our ways. So that doesn't mean that it's you uphold that every time blindly and crash your business. But no, you need to operate and have financial reports and have board meetings and those things and have the difficult discussions. But when you come to the core of decision making, when you come to the core of the sentiment of the business, on how you think about making those decisions, if you can orient it through that, then it becomes um, yeah, it becomes fun, like so
Yeah.
yeah. My wife the other day asked me, when do you want to retire? I said to her, um, yeah, she's beautiful. And I said, like, I want to, why would I retire from having fun? Like,
Yeah.
I must probably slow down a bit, things, but I don't want to stop doing what I do because I really enjoy spending time with the people,
Yes.
the customers, and our own hearts and everyone. So
Mm.
for me, it's about that, yeah, creating and growing the organization to really be a inspiration to others and inspiration to the teams that we have, because at the end of the day we don't live forever. So a legacy cannot be bought. A legacy can be maybe created, um, um, what do you call, uh, superficially, but it won't sustain it. So a legacy is what stays behind when you're not there. So
Mm.
as a company, as an individual, if we already know what we want to achieve there, I don't think there's much of a choice then to go about, surrounding yourself with beautiful people and work on it in a way that it, yeah. If you can, I don't know, AJ, maybe this was a bit of, I'll share this in here. So if you write your own eulogy,
Mhm.
okay, and if you can live that to what you want to leave behind, then everything becomes very clear. Yeah.
I completely agree, and it's really resonating with me. In fact, my mother, my dear mum, when she passed away, we found a book where she'd actually written her eulogy about 4 years before she'd passed, and we actually used that as her eulogy. And it was so beautiful because it was in her words. So
Mm.
as they were spoken, you could hear her voice, but it also demonstrated her values and what she'd focused on. Like, family was most important to her, and so when she'd made certain career decisions because she prioritized family and how that had
Yeah.
come about. I also love your do not hire and fire, and the concept of the golden rules. And I think one of the things I've been proud of, I guess, or grateful for in some of the work that I do with leaders in a lot of the um, ecosystems that I build is people come for a year, but they stay for their career.
Yeah.
That they join but go, there's something great about being with people who are like-minded, and I want to stay there. And what I love about what you're sharing about the organization is this longer term view, which also for me resonates with what the elders, First Nations all around the world from different nationalities teach, which is that whole concept of 7 generations. And thinking about what am I doing today and how would that impact 7 generations from now. And I think that really longer term view in a business means that you have this loyalty and these people who love coming to work. It means that the culture and the bonds are so strong that it doesn't matter if you have to change products or services. And a lot of companies build themselves just around what we do, not who we are. And so when the winds of change happen and the market changes, they're spinning their wheels and grabbing, like you say, or cutting people off or whatever that might look like, because it's not the same as going, we're a collective of good people doing good in the world. And maybe that's going to change over time. Yeah.
And I think and I think just to share a little bit, and you need Thrive Stars, what we're doing and things like that, is that it's tough, right, to make some of those decisions, because we're humans, we still make mistakes, and along the way, even if you have 6 or 7 really great leaders, you still make things that mistakes on certain things, but if you go about it in that one way of thinking, as a leader, of like leading into the whatever problem resolution or finding a solution or whatever it is, that because we all align that that's our core of our being, you know what I mean, how we live and how we grow and how we one day don't live. So and as the world evolves, spiritually, and I'll call it, like, let's call it a universal knowing, right, the universal truth. I can call it God, different names. We all have different views in that. So, but it's
Consciousness.
all, yeah. As so we're not like discriminating anyone in that regard, but to align yourself to that core being. So, for example, like let's say someone like, I don't want to say names, so let's say a billionaire made like 80-90 billion dollars, and they were not the best person, or the company had the best reputation, or whatever it is, but then the person's going to leave it all behind to another charity, you know what I mean? So I believe in creating that wealth as we go, not just as an individual to take and decide, but the ecosystem to then cultivate that and grow. So for example, if you're doing some sustainable nature-based stuff, like sustain the economy, the local economy, build like age like you're doing, grow rainforests, grow crops that you can sustain, and someone like even like Sadhguru is doing in India, who is regenerating the soil, like that's just such a powerful thing, you know what I mean? So in our business, even we have some sustainable goals that we want to also achieve in the next couple of stages, hopefully, is supporting the local, like, because a big part of the business is in Sri Lanka and in Australia. So, do some local, sustainable projects that are environmentally sustainable. I mean, like, so obviously organization needs to be sustainable in what we do, otherwise you won't be in business, as said. So anyone who wants to maybe have a chat about, like, what their struggle is into getting to that place, and why they think that they are, like, not able to, we're happy to chat, AJ, so reach out in any of the things. You can put our LinkedIn details and stuff, and your podcasts are pretty popular anyway, so people know you. But even if you get any queries, I'm happy to help talk through people. I'm not looking for consulting or anything. It's just, to be sharing that knowledge.
Absolutely. And that's what Thrive Stars is all about, is helping organizations thrive, not just in their finances and productivity, but in their inclusion, in the well-being of their people, in the culture that they build, and the sustainability, as you say, of this beautiful planet that we walk on, but that our business practices are not somewhere down the chain actually damaging other people or other environments. You mentioned earlier your 3 mantras, and I don't want to close out without hearing those, if you're really open to share. And I'm hoping people are understanding and appreciating the depth of what Marlon has to share here, that's beyond just business tips and skills. And so maybe you do need to listen back to this a couple of times, and I think you'll get more of the gold each time you listen. So the three mantras, do you mind sharing?
Yeah, not a problem. So yeah, I think throughout the journey, I've been, I don't know, I've spent time with Tony Robbins and, and really, yeah, and a few other like coaches and stuff like from, I mean, I didn't do one-on-one coaching, but, spend time consuming their theories and practices and things like that. And what I realize is that, like, especially so Tony Robbins worked with someone called Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn was one of the original personal development gurus or leaders who actually lived in the US. And his teachings were basically Napoleon Hill's teachings or his writings. So yeah, for me, consuming, so first mantra is at least half an hour a day to hour to learn something. So learn something that I don't already sort of, even if I know it, I want to make sure that I want to excel it or remind it. So that is basically, a continuous improvement in the journey. You have to learn something, right? The second part is that, and that can be, so that's not just watching YouTube, or that's not just watching, some live feed of something, or social media. This is like the first one I'm still saying is that you have to select what you want to consume and then consume that. So if it's a book or if it's a yeah. So right now I'm listening to Napoleon Hill has a 10-hour track on Audible. I'm just repeatedly listening to that. A couple of things. If you don't have a lot of time, like all of us, get like something like Blinkist, who
Mhm.
actually gives you the 10-20 minute version of, so that's good if you can listen to one of them every couple of day or every couple of days.
The
Or play,
summary kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
or play the audiobooks when you're driving and things like that. So the yeah, I think Napoleon Hill, Tony Robbins, we talk about auto suggestion. So auto suggestion is basically programming your subconscious mind with information that is conducive to whatever you're doing to grow. So it's like if it's like, let's call it drip irrigation for plants. It's like drip irrigation for your brain. Yeah. So if you can use that mechanism, I'm telling you, it will actually be very, very different in the way you handle things and learn things.
So that's
And
the first one. And what I'm hearing there is not just consume, like people might say, well, I'm scrolling on Instagram, so I'm consuming, but you're saying pick a topic and go deeper into it
yeah,
and read more widely, more deeply, get a more complete understanding.
yeah. And AJ, like the thing there is, let's say, take example, let's say you're working on a AI or technology project. If you drip feed AI and technology at that particular time, it will be most conducive to your growth of that particular thing,
Mm-hmm.
or application of some real insights and values that you really specifically choose, because that's what you need to do. Like if you're a builder, you need to learn
Yeah,
building. You don't
right.
build, you don't learn programming, you know what I mean? And you need to see what the other guys are doing. So in that area of what you're working on, or if you're totally different and you want more spiritual guidance, then that's that's good too, right? So I do all that. So yeah. So the second one is I have to reflect every day. Like so, I call it like I don't know, you can call it meditation. You could call it sitting quietly, whatever it is, whatever works for you. So basically, it's like before I shut the day, I need to recount and see if I do everything according to my values and things, and if I didn't, I actually uh, check it and go, you know what? I think this one I didn't handle it well, or that meeting didn't go that well, or I had an ill feeling about this customer, and that is not good because that's not in aligned to the next value or the next mantra. And basically, yeah. So I have like a continuous improvement cycle. I call it CIC. I do that every time, with customers and projects and stuff. So I always have a a guiding principle before I start. I talk to them and actually apply that, and that's really good because when let's say you're running a managed services, onboarding project, I would use something like, one team, one front, and a CIC as a few guiding principles for that project. And I do that even with them. Like I'll go, okay, guys, we now we finished onboarding. Have we stuck to our principles? I go, yeah, it was pretty good. Oh yeah, now we need to do that. So for example, one of my customers who's global business, they came over when we wrote the contract last year. I put a clause saying we should have a review every year in Sri Lanka together. And the global CIO came around and we had the best review and way forward. Really spend the time. So these are like things that we, can apply in real life in our business and our journey. So I definitely do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's number 2, which is this kind of reflection and closing the loop. I hear in that whole idea of through the day we open so many tabs and then it's checking in, how did I do those, and closing the loop again, and
Yeah.
I guess being in integrity, isn't it, with yourself?
And then I think, AJ, that just there's this thought came into me when we were talking before. So let's share that one and I'll discuss it a little bit. So, let's say call the golden rules, right? So we can write rules. So what happens every new year? We want to lose weight, we want to do this, we want to do that, right? So we write these resolutions, but we don't write a mantra to check that. So I think the most important things of the golden rules is how frequently you go through them, how frequently you check what you're doing against them. Now you can't do that all the time, but if it's not too complicated and if it's can bring it together into a certain place, and it's very easy to sort of checklist in your mind, then it becomes second nature. You just live that, you know what I mean, and you breathe that. So the mantras or those rules, also the important thing is that how do you be accountable to those rules, so we have to be. If you don't have accountability to ourselves, how are you going to be accountable to your staff or your hearts or anyone else or your customers? You know what I mean? I think that's the strong part of a leadership. What we have to build as a leader is to be able to be checked ourselves without being needing to other people to go tell you, and you need to have a couple of good friends or mentors that will tell you the truth when you ask the question. You go, and AJ, we always talk to each other or other people, and tell them what we think. And some people don't like it, but that is what it is, because you have to really check that. Yeah.
I think if we look at, like Patrick Lencioni says, 5 dysfunctions of a team, and that the foundation of a great team and where most dysfunction happens is a lack of trust. Yeah. When we already have an element of trust and we know that the other person's in their integrity, it is easier to have those conversations and to go, hey, I think there's a bit of slippage happening here. It's easier to have that because I trust that you're doing that with my best interests and the whole's best interests.
And those become they're hard conversations. I mean, you should love hard conversations because that is epitome of growth. And failure is also the same, right? If you fail like a project or customer thing, and not always going to go, because your values and their values are not going to be aligned. You know what I mean? Like someone could be discriminating, and then you go, I don't want to deal with this particular, company or bunch of people or whatever it is, because that's totally against your values, and you can't go change them. That is not possible. You know what I mean? So you just navigate that. Yeah.
And I think that regular check is important. I know yesterday I was working with a bunch of leaders in an organization who've gone through a merger and acquisition. And so we actually went back to what are the culture and values? What did we say that we were going to be like and act like? Because while you're going through a big change like that, a lot can get messy. And what we did was actually do a culture drift. And we aligned all the things that they'd agreed they wanted to work on together and to maintain. They brought in a bit of both cultures. And we mapped it out and said, where have we gone above the line and below the line? Where are we maintaining the culture? Where have we drifted? And so we literally just like an aeroplane might drift off course. We looked at where things had drifted, and instead of there being any blame, we just said, what do we need to do to get back on course? And it sounds simple, but incredibly powerful. I know I've had to do it in my own business and life as well. I had a few financial things once come up in my business and realized someone had been taking advantage of me, and there was a lot of money going out and I had to take responsibility that, well, I wasn't being a good steward for my money and the business. I hadn't kept my eye on the ball. I'd trusted, but without any responsibility, or as you're saying, accountability. So I'd let it drift, right? So it's
because it's easy to, so AJ, what I always say is right. So this one's a good one, leaders. If you point in the finger at someone, let's say I'm going to point a finger like this, like to you, there's 3 pointing back at me, right? So I always say that is that, before you do that, it's like, you don't need to do that. So you just need to make sure that you work with the, environment and people you have to, and it's not even like you don't need to get hung up on things, right? So it's not rocket science. It's all very simple things, and we just need to understand. We need to bring other people and take them as a part of our journey, right? So, and
I would even take you one further. I always say you've got one pointing at the other, 3 at you, and 1 to God or source or the truth, and somewhere in between. And so you have to you've got to check in with that as well.
Absolutely. And I think, so the journey, so you mentioned, and I just want to, before we close that subject, to say something about, I don't know, people go, leaders are alone, right? And leaders, it's a lonely journey up there and this and that. So I think that's everything we do as a choice. Okay, if I call AJ and say, AJ, I need you to listen to me. I've got this thing. What do you think? And I've got 20 others, maybe I can call immediately. And they will definitely spend the time and you, because I do the same thing back to them. So we need to use the resources the universe has given us. Okay. And we have to trust in that. And if you need 4 opinions, please just spend the time, get those 4 opinions, because I'm telling you that is going to be better than just your opinion only. And if you want to bring them as consultants or whatever it is, so this is why that, AJ, what you do in facilitating that things, I think is super important. And I think, the work you do, because you need a guardian, to help you. Okay. We all, when we're growing up, we have parents and other elders that look after us, and we still have them around us. We just think we're now by ourselves, we can pay our bills. We not emotionally, we're not there, right? Everyone's got the same thing. We wake up in the morning, sometimes feel anxious, we have different things we do. So what we need to do is to align that and make sure that we are not alone, and there's plenty of free help. Typically family and very, very close friends, maybe not the best ones as leaders to get feedback, because they're like skeptical most of the time. And
they're too emotionally connected.
Connected to it. So they will like go, so they may distort your reality a little bit into have more empathy towards you, maybe, on the situation. So anyway, just to share that, I think, please reach out, have 1 or 2 mentors or guardians, or, however you want to call it, that you can, don't feel alone, because definitely it's not a lonely place. I don't subscribe to that. Yeah.
I run a leadership program with a colleague, Murray, who are for Essential Energy, and it's called Connected Leaders, exactly for that. So that as people rise up to leaders, they become part of this web of all the other leaders. And it's very clear, don't ever make a decision on your own if you're feeling uncertain about something, or you don't feel like you have quite the confidence. Check in on with a peer or someone above. And so it's very much about helping them see that I'm part of this larger, and that I can always tap into that wisdom and knowledge. And usually there's like hundreds, if not thousands of years of knowledge between them all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, and it's very important to also be the persons we have is not too empathetic or too loving to you, because what's going to happen otherwise is they'll just go. If you say something, they go, "Oh yeah, I agree to everything," then it's not good. You know, you
Yeah.
need to go, "Oh
They'll
no, I don't
stroke
agree."
you.
Yeah,
Too
yeah,
much stroking.
yeah. So
Number 3, we heard number 1 is
yeah,
that learn something every day, 30
yeah,
minutes. We heard number 2 was reflect, do that kind of meditation or a check-in with yourself. What's
yeah.
number 3?
So number 3 is live every moment. Is like that could be your last moment. So
Mm,
that means like everything you do, you can't be upset with people. You can't build a yeah, you can't build anxiety or anger towards anyone. You need to have your discussions and your buys, try and give people 20-second hugs or whatever. So I have something that I've created there. I call it it's called Make a Day Brighter. So one of the things is that when I go about doing things, I'll do things to make people's day brighter. So that's like one of the things to I don't know if that was the last interaction I had with them, they'd be like, yeah, very happy with that. So it obviously is the hardest one to uphold because you can't be beautiful and perfect the whole time. You can try, because like you still got. I hate the saying we are only human, because that is actually telling yourself it's okay to be unhuman. So I don't agree with that statement, but I think at the same time I can't ignore it. So so every word we say, every thought we come, if we can pass it through that filter of you know be every moment, think about it like your last one. So, and it comes back to that, what your mom had written, and that's a beautiful story you told me before, that, that's aligned to what you want people to remember you as, and
mm,
if you can do that, then you put a smile, everyone says, wow, imagine who's around, the most important people are those ones who are going to be around that time when you maybe, transiting. So yeah, that's most probably the closest one to me anyway, as we
mm.
grow older, I think that becomes the most powerful thing. But yeah, I don't even know where I sort of coined or captured that one from, but that's been there. I think I wrote it on my LinkedIn about 10 years ago, those 3 mantras, um, to make sure that I'm accountable to those, myself.
Yeah, that you publicly share them.
Yeah, and yeah, I think it's thank you for asking them.
And I really think you do make everyone's day brighter that you have connection with. I hope the people listening or watching this later feel that. I know I still have one of your stickers of Make a Day Brighter on my car. So
Yeah, I got them everywhere, stuck on things. Yeah.
yeah. So it really is this beautiful heart alignment, like you said, heart count in a business, not a head count, but your heart is in alignment with your truth. And we're not suggesting that you have to live Marlon's mantras, although you might like to try them on for yourself, but develop your own, develop Keith's mantras, develop Suzanne's mantras, find your own way of staying in alignment with yourself. And I think leadership, it is true, it can be lonely. We often feel like we need to be and do it all and to have it all together. And the reality is, I think my highest viewed post on my TikTok feed, yes, I'm on TikTok, I'm that cool, people. But on my TikTok feed and channel, one of the most popular videos is the one where I talk about most executives don't know what they're doing, that they're just making it up. And most leaders are in the same boat. Like if you haven't done that before, you're making it up as you go. But having some mantras or some guiding principles like Marlon's talking about really do help you maintain your own integrity and stay healthy and whole and healed. Because what we don't want to see is a whole heap of organizations that are led by soulless people. And sadly, I mean, that's why we've created Thrive Stars. I kind of wish we didn't have to. Sadly, we had to, because the reality is that 37% of GDP is leaked due to absenteeism, presenteeism, bullying, harassment, mental health issues, anxiety. And that, 8 out of 10 people in workplaces say that they have a bad boss, or that they're unhappy, unproductive, and not engaged at work. And we have to turn that around. So I'm kind of like, I've read a lot of leadership books and done a lot of courses, but somewhere that's not working, because all those books have been around for a long time, but we're still seeing statistics of people being unhappy. People like Marlon are in that 20% that are doing something different. And I think rather than read a book, maybe double down, go and connect with Marlon on LinkedIn, say hi to him, start consuming some of his posts. His posts are uplifting and light and beautiful. And all my wish is that you keep radiating your love out in the world, Marlon, because it really does make a difference.
Thank you very much. And yeah, I think that when I see, like when I see things happen, like, in even in our organization, like our, Sri Lankan New Year, parties, and like no parties, like we have like a sports carnival, because that's what the traditional Sinhalese and Tamil New Year that happens. We have a Christmas thing. Last time I was there for that customer meeting, we had our company Christmas, cricket match. We had like the whole teams, so we're like, have a ball. So that makes me really proud. And seeing even like things we're doing with Thrive Stars and things like that, I think is that, yeah, I think just to add, or just to resonate what you just said about the, leadership, is not about recreating things. We don't have to recreate the wheel. We have plenty of things. There's tons of all these materials on there. So you just need to consciously make a decision to consume it and apply it. And what you have to realize is that we don't know everything. If we think we know everything, then that's the first day of our failure.
Yeah.
So to acknowledge that we don't know everything that's why you need experts in certain areas. Or you can learn all of that and apply, but as a business, as a leadership team, is to allow and to foster trust and connection with the other experts. Now, if you're a small business and you need support, it's not about going and spending hundreds and thousands of dollars on people. It's about finding the correct person for that particular time. And I'm telling you, there are people will go through your journey. They'll give you a discount maybe at the beginning and work through with it. So it's just how you navigate that, how you trust yourself and those people to. Yeah, so it's like, it's no use having the best kept secret in your garage, if you don't get it out there. And it's a best tool, you need to find people that can help you put it in the shop, or put it on top of the thing, or put it in the best website and market it, So these things are, have a discussion with someone. So please don't be stuck in there by yourself. Definitely, there's plenty of people around, and AJ or myself or anyone to that matter. In our Tri-Strauss group, we have 10 other beautiful hearts that will help you anyway if you need to. But we can share that information in the
show notes.
Notes.
We will. So below and wherever you're listening to, consuming this, we'll be sure to put some connection points in there. Best place for Marlon and I is on LinkedIn. I would say as a first point of call. He is very genuine in saying reach out and connect with him. And I think more than anything, what really resonates with me is just your thinking about hearts and really thinking about all of those people in your ecosystem, your clients, suppliers, and their families as well. That really sits with me, and I hope it sits with our listeners and viewers too. Thanks for being part of the show, Marlon, and sharing your life and your work in being a great leader.
Thank you very much, AJ, for having me, and looking forward to spending more time, and keep inspiring and doing what you do too. So love your work.
Thank you. And I want to also pay my respects not only to traditional custodians and elders, but to your elders, your dad and your uncle, for their teachings and wisdom that they obviously passed on
Yeah.
to you, even if they didn't realize they were. So thank you to everyone's elders and those who mentor and guide them. Blessings.
See you, AJ. Thank you. Bye.